Hey, it's Andrew Morgan, host of the Nomcast, the Netflix original movie podcast. Each week we preview and review the biggest Netflix original movies with special guests from the film industry, the music industry, comedians, and of course our fellow critics and podcasters. The Nomcast is available on nomcastpod.com or wherever you get your podcasts, on the socials at nomcastpod, and is a part of the Forgotten Entertainment family.
Attention, culture consumers. Join me, the Queen of Queries, Sarah O'Connor, and my band of nerdy knights.
Colleen McMillan.
Flo Siegel.
And Anders Drew.
On Bohemian Geek Studies, where we take extremely dorky dives into our favorite fandoms, especially that Star Wars galaxy far, far away. Listen each week as we examine the stories that mean so much to us. Bohemian Geek Studies is available wherever you get your podcasts and is proudly part of the Forgotten Entertainment family.
Is that what I think it is?
You didn't think it was going to be that easy, did you?
You know, for a second there? Yeah, I kind of did.
All right, Forgotten Entertainment presents On the QT, where myself, I'm John.
And I'm Lloyd.
Where we talk about the films, the 10 films of the Quentin Tarantino filmography. Quentin Tarantino, the writer-director. We're talking, of course, about his directed films only. We're not talking about stuff like True Romance and Natural Born Killer stuff he wrote. But you've been with us the last couple of weeks. You know how this goes. So Lloyd and I are here. We have a special guest every week. We put all of our buddies and pals' names in a hat, pulled them out, boom, 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 boom. And this week for Kill Bill Volume 1, that's right, Volume 1. And before we introduce our guest, I do want to say something real quick, because I've gotten a lot of feedback on this one thing from our friends and listeners. They keep saying, you're doing the 10 movies of Tarantino. But wait, Kill Bill is only one movie. Here's the definitive answer, which I never even thought about before. At the very beginning of Kill Bill Volume 2, or Kill Bill Volume 1, pardon me, it is introduced as the fourth film from Quentin Tarantino. So no matter how everybody looked at it, at one point it was supposed to be one movie. He considers it his fourth film. So this is two different films, and it will be rated justly. And we will have two different guests to talk about these two films. So
that's right. Our
buddy Sean Mclaughlin, a.k.a. Shawnee Mac, a.k.a. the Glock Senior, is here with us. Sean is a staff writer for horrornewsnetwork.net, and he has been on our other podcast, Pint O'Comics. You can find us over at pintocomics.com many times. And Sean got picked for Kill Bill Volume 1. Sean, how's everything going? How you doing, man?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. It's always a laugh when I'm on.
Oh yeah,
you guys are great.
We always have a good time with you. We always have a good time.
Yeah.
Now, we've been asking all of our guests your Tarantino, I guess, appreciation. Big fan, little fan, don't care. Where are you at with this?
I'm not a big fan. I'm definitely a fan of his. I do have some issues with him as well, but I would say he is one of those guys that's not afraid to take risks, and I got to respect that. And a lot of times they work. So, I would say a medium fan.
Okay. All right. Right in the middle. All right. Now, the next thing we kind of do, I want to go around and kind of gauge this is, so we're talking Kill Bill Volume 1, and we'll get into all the little things about it in a minute. But let's talk our personal history with this movie. Manster, Lloyd, did you see this in the theaters? Were you aware of this when it came out? Did you care about it when it came out? Where were you at?
This is around the time where I stopped going to the theater for his movies, and then, just waiting for DVDs and stuff like that. So no, I didn't see this in the theater. Not that I wasn't excited for it, but yeah, that's just what it was at that time.
All right. We have to also mention our last show was the Jackie Brown show. We talked about Jackie Brown with Melissa Willette, and it's very important to point out that from 1997 to 2003, nothing came out. Right. So Jackie Brown comes out. It's his third film. We talked about how it was a little bit different because it was based on a pre-existing property as opposed to something original. And then for what? That's 6 years? Nothing. That's more than 6 years. Nothing comes out because he's focusing so heavily on these two Kill Bill films, which again, at one point was supposed to be one long film. So it's interesting when, someone who in 1992, 1994, and 1997 comes out with, Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, and Jackie Brown, he's hitting really quickly. And then all of a sudden he goes Chinese Democracy on us and we don't hear from him, for a long time. I'll tell you right now, I saw this in the theaters and I could distinctly remember the feeling in the theater was that we were watching something that you really haven't seen before. His first three movies, no matter how good they are, they're all Los Angeles based crime thrillers, if you really want to get down to the end of it. And now all of a sudden we're in the middle of a 70s era grindhouse / martial arts revenge picture. And it's very stylized, even more so than the others. It's in your face. It's kind of crazy. I remember people cheering in parts. I remember people hearing people around what is going on here? I don't know if it caught on everybody at the time. Sean, did you see this in the theater? Do you remember your first viewing?
I did see it in the theater, yeah, and I remember there was quite a buzz around this when it was coming out. I remember the TV spots. Specifically, I probably should have rewatched them on YouTube just to jog my memory, but I do remember them showing the plane, landing in Tokyo there, and then the graphic. I think it said in 2003, Uma Thurman will kill Bill. Right?
Yes, yeah.
I don't know if you remember that, but it was just one word after another. It was very direct, and there was a sense of this is great, another Tarantino movie, but what the hell is this thing about? What we were seeing samurai fights in the spot, and and then we're seeing just going head to head with other people busting their heads open, and it's just what the hell's going on here? But that's kind of what made there's a mystique around this film just for that reason.
Yeah.
What are we going to watch?
Yeah, definitely. It's not your run of the mill film. Now, Lloyd, before we start getting into all of the stuff we get into, can you give the audience out there a bumper sticker on this one? And bumper sticker just volume 1, because again, we're going to probably little bits and pieces of volume 2 will pop up here, but let's just go with what volume 1 entails.
Right. I'm trying to stay away from volume 2 in all of my notes here. After awakening from a 4-year coma, a former assassin exacts her revenge on the team of assassins who betrayed her. That's
very succinct, and that's very true. And, again, I guess the comparisons are going to happen a little bit. I think volume 1 is certainly the more direct of the two movies. It moves faster, I think. And I guess you could say it contains more of the action beats of the two films, because this thing, literally a lot, the ending of it is a 25-minute long action scene, just about.
Honestly, I haven't ever even rewatched Kill Bill 2. I've seen Kill Bill 1 a few times.
I've certainly seen 1 more than 2, but I've seen 2 a couple times. Sean, are you lopsided? Yeah. Do you watch 1 more?
Same thing. I've seen 1 more than I've seen 2. I've seen 2 a couple times. Yeah. I do think 1 is the superior one.
Yeah. Film. Yep. I'm not going to disagree with that. So Kill Bill Volume 1 comes out on October 10th, 2003. October 10th for all of you out there that might want to wish my wife a happy birthday. That's my wife's birthday. So and Brett Favre as well. So if you want to wish Brett Favre a happy birthday, you can do that too. Written and directed by Quentin Tarantino, based on characters created by Q and U. Quentin Tarantino and Uma Thurman. Essentially, on the set of Pulp Fiction, they just started spitballing this thing together. They created the character of the bride. Okay, that's Uma Thurman's character in this film, and they came up with this, the character, and then Tarantino started, hey, I've always wanted to do martial arts films. I've always wanted to do kind of a revenge thriller. Let's come up with a story and put this in there. So they kind of created that together. The entirety of Kill Bill was filmed in Japan, China, Mexico, LA, Austin, Texas, from January 17th, 2002 to March 3rd of 2003. This one is mostly filmed in LA, Mexico, and Japan, China, and LA. Yeah, there is Mexico in this one too. China shows up in the next one. Lloyd, let's get into let's do the cast right off the bat. Let's talk cast before we get too far into anything else.
So it starts out with Uma Thurman as the bride. Her code name is Black Mamba from the Deadly Viper Assassination Squad. Basically, she's the deadliest woman in the world, and she seeks revenge on, like I said, all those vipers that basically massacred everyone at her wedding party.
Yep. And as we talk a lot about on these, we've talked about them so far on all of these episodes, is that the kind of string that goes along with all these Tarantino movies is that nobody is a really good character in any of them. And again, the bride has been wronged, put in a coma, terrible things done to her while in a coma, but in the end, let's not forget what you just said. She was an assassin too. Again, we're not looking at it like a white hat. We're looking at like a bad person that now had a comeuppance and is now coming out for revenge. That theme just keeps popping up. There's no one good in these movies. There's no real good character. You're rooting for the bride,
right?
But that's only because you've never seen the stuff that maybe she's done to people.
Right. We don't know what she's done. What caused this massacre?
Right. We don't find that out.
Next, we have Lucy Liu as Oren Ishii, codenamed Cottonmouth. She has basically become the leader of the Japanese Yakuza. She and the bride once had a close relationship. She is the bride's first target, but shown second chronologically in the movie. Again, back to Tarantino motifs. We're jumping around in time a little bit. Now, Sean, I got a very important question for you, because I want to know if she fulfills this for you as well. I realize every time I see this movie that Lucy Liu fulfills a very strange, I guess it's the word isn't kink, but attraction that I never knew I had before. That I don't even know if it really exists otherwise. Asian girls with freckles. Is that a thing?
Yeah.
And why do I love it so much?
I completely agree with you. She does fulfill something that I knew I had. I think she's blazingly hot.
Yeah.
But you're right. Those close-ups of her, you see the freckles. Yeah, it's I guess it's rare.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
No, there's a couple things with her, right? She's gorgeous, but there's a couple little things about her face that are endearing to me. The freckles, and if you pay attention in certain scenes and close-ups, one of her eyes is just slightly off a little bit, like maybe a little bit crossed, tiny bit. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, it's endearing. She's super cute.
That's what I love most about beautiful people. They just have something weird about them that makes them, really unique.
Yeah. I mean, if like, unfortunately, I don't want to say this, but if I were to die this week and you were to check my browser history, you would definitely find Lucy Liu freckles because I wanted to kind of see if there was, and there's like tons of pictures of close-ups of her face because it's odd. It's odd and it's endearing. All right, Manser, who's next?
David Carradine as Bill, also known as Snake Charmer, former leader of those Deadly Vipers, apparently the bride's former lover and the father of her daughter, according to what she says as he shoots her in the head. He's basically an unseen character in this film. That's about it. We don't know a whole lot about him.
Role originally written for, did you read who that was written for?
Yeah, for Warren Beatty.
Warren Beatty. And he said no, but he told Tarantino, you should look at Carradine.
Carradine, yeah.
I guess at one point Kevin Costner was also offered the role, but declined and made Open Range.
I've got a whole bunch of other names. Want to hear some of them?
Absolutely.
Jack Nicholson, Kurt Russell, Mickey Rourke, and Burt Reynolds apparently all passed on playing Bill.
I could almost see any of them too. Burt Reynolds, maybe not, but I could see
not Burt.
I could see Kurt Russell. I could see a lot of people. David Carradine turns out to be perfect. His voice, right? There's a quality about him. Not to mention, when you get down to it, the type of material he was known for.
Yeah, the Kung Fu show,
and
martial arts,
that kind of thing. It works out really well.
Yeah, I was going to say he's the type of guy Tarantino turns around, like Travolta, been out of the spotlight for a while, former big star. A role like this is what puts him back in the spotlight. This is almost made for Carradine. It's pretty funny that Tarantino didn't look his way first. Yeah,
you're right, Sean. Yeah, because he usually has a really good eye for who he wants in a role right away. Yep. By the way, he died in 2009 of causes.
It was causes, all right.
Damn causes.
Yeah, look it up if you don't know what we're talking about, because we don't have enough time to get into that.
Next, we have Vivica A. Fox as Vernita Green, code name Copperhead. Basically, she's become a homemaker and mother. just kind of living in the suburbs. Got a perfect little suburban house there. She's the bride's second target, but the first one in the film.
Yeah, she fulfills another one of my niches. Well, we can move past that now. But yeah,
the suburban mom.
the suburban mom niche. Yeah.
I'll add this one in. You do see him briefly. Michael Madsen as Bud, codename Sidewinder. He is at the wedding massacre.
When they do show him, because it's like kind of like the shot of the Deadly International Viper Assassin Squad, right? The Divas, I think is what they're called. When they do show them in the scene where after they attempt to murder the bride, he's the only male and he's wearing the same suit. It seems like he wears in Reservoir Dogs.
Right. That's something I'll get into with my little list of Tarantino-isms.
Perfect.
And his eyebrows are in the house.
Yeah.
Trademark eyebrows in the house.
Excellent. Then we have Daryl Hannah as Ellie Driver, the California mountain snake, another former Viper. And she ain't whistling Dixie, but she's whistling something else.
That's right.
And then we have Julie Dreyfus, not Julia Louis-Dreyfus, as Sophie Fatale. That is Oren's lawyer, confidant, second lieutenant, I guess. Also a former protege of Bill, and she was present at the massacre as well.
One of my favorite scenes in the whole movie, or just one of my favorite little lines, is after, jumping ahead, after the bride wipes out everybody in the House of Blue Leaves and tells the survivors to leave. And she goes, except for you, Sophie. You stay put. I love that. And the crazy part is she does. She does. The bride goes off into the back lot to fight Oranishi, and apparently fucking Sophie doesn't try to leave. She's so afraid.
What else does she say? You can all leave, but leave your limbs, like those are mine or something.
Yeah, leave your limbs. They belong to me now.
Yeah. Then we got Sonny Chiba as Hattori Hanzo. Wow, I can't say that today.
That's a tough one.
A sushi chef and long retired master swordsmith who basically agrees to craft her a sword after he's vowed an oath not to do that for the last 28 years. He's fantastic. You can go more into him, his career.
Yeah. He has the great line, maybe the best line in the whole movie, after he creates the sword and he says, if you meet God on your journey, God will be cut. I love that.
Yeah, that's a great line. All right, a few more here. Shiaki Kuriyama as Gogo Yabari, the basically Oren's sadistic schoolgirl bodyguard. She's fun.
She fulfills.
Does she scratch an itch for you, John, at all?
No, Asian schoolgirl, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I see what you did there with
did
the
you see,
of your head.
See what I did? This is not a video podcast. You can't see me saying absolutely yes.
Then we have Gordon Liu, not related to Lucy Liu, as Johnny Moe. I personally call him Kato myself.
Yeah.
He's a head of Oren's personal army, the Crazy 88. He's the one with the Kato mask, and he gets a nice little thing in the end there where he gets chopped off and falls into the pool.
He takes a bath.
Yeah, takes a bath. Michael Parks as Earl McGraw, the great Michael Parks, a Texas Ranger who investigates the Wedding Chapel massacre. And this role here originated in the Robert Rodriguez movie From Dusk Till Dawn, continues in here, and then it's reprised in both segments of the Rodriguez Tarantino Grindhouse films.
Yep. Michael Parks is awesome. Passed away a couple years ago.
Yeah, unfortunately. I'll give you one more. There's plenty others, but Michael Bowen as Buck. He's the rapey coma pimp. He's an orderly at the hospital who's just been pimping her out and raping her, the bride, while she's laying there in a coma.
And Buck likes to what?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. My name's Buck. I like to fuck.
And he's got the most absolutely disgusting fucking little can of Vasalube.
Oh, God.
With fucking hair. It's so disgusting. When he tosses it to that guy, I'm like, why are you even catching that thing?
Let me ask you a straight up question. So Buck is like a nurse or orderly, right? And he works at a hospital. What self-respecting hospital would let a guy with a vehicle that's called the pussy wagon
and the tattoo
what did his tattoo say? Did it say fuck?
It said fuck.
Yeah.
So I just can't picture the administrator of the hospital not saying, "Hey, Buck, can you possibly take your bright yellow and pink truck and not bring it here anymore?" Some of the patients notice that it says Pussy Wagon on it. I guess I've never seen it, but I guess if you see this on TNT, it is digitally altered to Party Wagon.
Party Wagon.
Sweet.
Yeah.
It is a party.
Yeah, it's an absolute party.
I actually have a continuity question too when we get to it regarding Pussy Wagon.
Absolutely. And Quentin Tarantino owns the Pussy Wagon. That is a personal vehicle of his that apparently when this movie came out, he drove to premieres and to appearances. So that's pretty crazy. And Michael Bowen, we kind of, linking through the movies, Michael Bowen was in Jackie Brown as one of the ATF or federal agents as well. He plays a real fucking skee ball in this. Now, Sean, real quick, even though Lloyd didn't mention him, do you recognize the gentleman that he in lack of better or more tasteful term, rents the bride out to? Did you recognize that fellow?
Is he Adam Sandler's buddy?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, I did then. You tell by the eyes.
You tell by the eyes. He is Jonathan Lofgren. And if you don't know who he is, he's in just about every Adam Sandler movie. If you want to recognize him immediately, he is the cross-eyed guy in The Waterboy who says, "Did you just make a joke, Bobby?" he plays a very disgusting client. Bobby Boucher.
So we got a $30 million budget, an opening weekend of $22.2 million. Now this is his largest one. Recall Pulp was about 9.3 and Jackie Brown was right around there too.
Yeah.
70 million domestic, not huge, but respectable, and 180.9 million worldwide.
Yep. And you got to factor in the fact that the budget is for both of the movies, right? So I think that's a complete budget for 1 and 2.
You know what? I didn't check if that was a complete 1 and 2 budget or not.
All right, we'll double check for the next episode.
Yeah,
but if it was, then it means you're making kind of double the money by splitting them in half. Part of the reason they split them in half, and they didn't split this in half until 4 months before it came out, July of 2003. Apparently the scumbag there, Harvey Weinstein, I guess he always had a issue with telling his producers to make their movies shorter. And even though Tarantino was a moneymaker for him, he was like, it'd be a better idea to put these out in 2 parts. The reason Tarantino acquiesced to that is because he knew that if you took both of these together and had almost a 4-hour movie, he knew if he put it out in one shot that they would want to trim it down more. And he said he would lose stuff like the anime sequence and stuff that he really cared about. He said he knew if they split it in 2 movies, he could get away with making them, full length features. And still, you could put them together if you want and watch them. So it was a choice on his part. And it's great because, I think if any of us out there, as we're recording, sat and watched the Justice League 4-hour movie, no matter how good Kill Bill is, imagine going to see that in the theater for 4 fucking hours. It'd be tough. It would be tough.
That was a good call to go to.
Yeah.
Split it in half, just like a baseball.
Yep. Yeah. Split it in half, just like a baseball. Absolutely. So yeah, this thing starts off and the bride is on a rampage immediately it starts off with showing you the massacre, the ending of the massacre. And I kind of read in one of the things I read while researching this, that it's really funny that when the bride goes on her revenge streak, they show all the violence graphically. When it's her, you don't see what happened except for Bill shooting her in the head, which I got to say, every time I see it, when he shoots her in the head, it makes me jump because it's kind of mid-sentence and it's just this awful, pop to the head and, the blood shoots out of the back of her head.
And it's black and white, so it makes it easier to take.
It is. Yeah, that is absolutely true.
Quite a bit in the film.
Yeah. Yeah. Part of the reason of the black and white, especially when you get to the end, is Tarantino is tributing, I guess, a lot of kung fu movies and action movies back in the day when they'd go to, network television or television, they would, I think this is in other countries mostly, they would make them black and white so that the blood wasn't so much of a factor.
Right. Tone down the violence because, blood's only blood if it's red, not if it's black. And it actually does work.
Yeah. They did that with pro wrestling too. You remember in the 80s?
Yeah.
Saturday Night's Main Event, they would, if anybody bladed, they would just go to black and white. And
yeah.
There you go.
So Sean, she shows up first to take on Vernita Green, who is what was she? Copperhead.
She was,
Yeah. And they get into essentially this incredible fight in this suburban house. And they pause long enough for her daughter to get off the bus. Did you notice, Sean, that when Vernita Green pulls the gun out of the box of cereal, did you notice the name of the cereal?
Yeah, I don't. I did not notice it. Oh, it was Wheaties?
No.
The hell was it?
Cereal. You're like, uh-oh.
Yeah, you see the cereal, and the cereal is titled what, Lloyd?
Kaboom.
So she's hiding a handgun inside of a box of cereal called Kaboom, which I'm surprised he didn't go with Fruit Brute. It seems to be something
the third time.
Something he's hitting a lot.
Wait, was there actually a Kaboom cereal?
No, I think that's just the movie. I think that's just the movie.
Okay.
But it looks just like Fruit Loops to me.
The fight scene's great. And one of the things that I thought was very interesting about this fight scene that never occurred to me until after reading it, doing more research on this, is she fights Vernita, and it's essentially a knife fight. She ends up killing her by throwing the knife through her heart. Then she goes to Japan to see Hattori Hanzo. She has Hattori Hanzo make this incredible blade, right? It'll cut God. She only kills one of her opponents with the blade throughout everything. He only kills Oranishi with the blade. She kills Vernita with a knife. She kills, we'll get into what happens in part 2. This blade that's made to exact her revenge is only used against one opponent.
See, that was my question, the continuity issue, because Vernita Green was number 2 on the list. And when she gets back into the pussy wagon, Oranishi's already crossed out.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's right. That's correct.
Yep.
So, yeah, I didn't get, where was the pussy wagon unless she was away for a month, at least a month.
Parked in the airport, airport hill.
So no one went looking for Buck's pussy wagon when he found him murdered in the hospital?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Sean's going the logical route. I get it.
That's something I'd probably complain about.
Yeah.
We are talking about a movie, remember, Sean, that turns to a cartoon for 10 minutes.
I get it. Yeah. No, I should suspend disbelief. But it's the pussy wagon. Come on.
It is the pussy wagon. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I was going to say maybe she had it painted, but no, it's still the pussy wagon when she pulls up to how does the pussy wagon play in that neighborhood too? Some nosy old fucking biddy looks out the window and goes, "I'm calling the police." Now Tarantino has said, and we're getting to the point where we could still do this, although we kind of talked about the fact that relationships between him and Uma Thurman have been strained over something that happens that we're going to get into in part 2 more. In real life, they've had some issues, but Tarantino has said that he's always thought about doing a 3 that would be essentially Vernita's daughter's journey to find the bride, which, they have this great scene where she essentially kills Vernita in front of her little daughter and then has this speech about, well, if you're still feeling raw, come and find me.
And I was wondering, because I don't remember volume 2 because I've only seen it once. Maybe we shouldn't get into it here, but I was wondering if the little girl does come back eventually in volume 2.
No, in the movie, she does not.
Okay.
But he has said that it's always been a thought in his head to kind of do that at some point. Sean, would you be interested in seeing that, or are you good with this being all?
I'm good, but I see a logical next, double feature here with Beatrix's daughter.
Yep.
Who is the same age or a little bit younger, then witnessing it, and then she goes after Vernita's daughter. It just never ends.
Yeah.
It's a vicious cycle of revenge.
Revenge violence. Absolutely. So she does, as we said, that ends. And then she essentially goes right over to Japan. Some interesting things are about when she goes to Okinawa. Some interesting things that I found now Sean just said the word Beatrix, which we never hear in this film, right? Spoiler alert, we'll say it here. Her name's Beatrix Kiddo. Now, earlier in the movie, Bill calls her Kiddo. You think he's calling her Kiddo, right? He's actually calling her by her last name. Now, I had read at some point a while ago, before we were going to do this show, so I tested it. The scene where she goes to Okinawa and then goes to Japan, they show her boarding pass twice.
Very quickly.
Very quickly. Now, whenever they say her name in this movie, it's only a couple times, it's beeped out. If you pause her boarding pass, her name's right on it. Beatrix Kiddo is on the top right-hand corner. So I thought that was interesting that it was always there.
So I have a question about that.
Yeah.
It's a thing. It's a unique thing for the film. It's kind of cool, but is it necessary to beep out her name? I mean, do you find a purpose for that?
I think it's a stylized choice.
It's a style. Yeah.
And I think it's interesting. I think it's really interesting because you're almost like it's one of these movies where if you really think about it, you're following a character that you don't know the character's name. You're supposed to feel for this person. You're supposed to, understand their plight, and you don't even know their fucking name. They did that. There was a movie a few years ago with Daniel Craig called Layer Cake. where his character's name is never said. And it's part of the film. It's, you know, it's the whole thing in the film. And I think it's supposed to almost keep you at arm's length from someone. And maybe I think because part 2 kind of becomes the more personal part, especially when you get to her finding Bill, that you're supposed to kind of, and you know, her daughter gets involved. I think you're supposed to get a little bit more comfortable with her at that point. And this is just me thinking. I can be totally fucking.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And I have a couple other questions along the same line. The nonlinear structure of this, you know, so seeing Vernita Green first and then Renishi second, does that do anything to you guys to make the movie better in any way?
Not to me. I think it's just Tarantino loves fucking with time.
He does
timelines.
Yeah.
So that
I
was
think
his little jab.
The Ishii battle was so much more fun. You know, it was more epic than Vernita Green, but there's no reason it couldn't have just been Vernita Green first and then.
If they happened in that order, though, in reversed order, the way they actually happened, it would be so anticlimactic. Just killing Vernita Green
exactly.
the way that she did.
And
yeah,
that's why they show the less fantastic one first, which was actually filmed chronologically in order. So the film shows it out of order, but it was filmed in order.
Yeah, the whole movie was filmed in sequence.
Yeah,
which is unusual because most movies don't do that.
Right.
They filmed this from, you know, the way that it actually, you know, went. And I wonder why they didn't make, you know, just make Oranishi the second victim.
That's right. I mean, I don't think that it really helped anything for me.
Part of the reason, and maybe this is totally wrong, I think part of the reason she went after Oranishi first is because she's the biggest threat. She's the fucking leader of the Japanese Yakuza. She's like a mob leader. Vernita Green is retired, you know, essentially is just like the suburban mom who obviously is still dangerous, but probably isn't doing anything anymore, you know? And if you think about it, when you get to the second movie, she goes after Bud, again, retired. You know, we get the idea that Daryl Hannah's character is still dangerous, but you know, she's a mob boss. And she also has to infiltrate this place and take on, you know, I don't know, what is 88 the actual number? She's got to fight fucking.
I'm assuming it is. Yeah.
It seems like it's probably 88
people.
Yeah.
0 now.
Well, you know, on the other hand, you know, you don't just go into a sprint. You warm up first, right?
Yeah.
She's been in a coma for 4 years. She needs a little warm up.
She absolutely needs a little
warm up. Go for the best right away. So
absolutely.
I'm just calling that out a little bit. I don't think that was necessary.
Possible Quentin meant to do Vernita Green first chronologically anyway, which is why she drove up in the pussy wagon right from the hospital.
Makes more sense to me.
It would make sense. Yeah.
I don't know. It's a question. I guess I'll have to see if there's anything out there saying. Unfortunately, it won't be on the show, but maybe as you're listening, you know the answer, and you could contact us at forgottenentertainment.com and let us know what's going on. All right, so she heads out to Okinawa to see Hattori Hanzo, played by, of course, Sonny Chiba, who is a pretty legendary grindhouse martial arts action star, 70s and the such. Commissions him to make a samurai sword. Now, Sean, you told me something a little bit earlier about this movie and samurai swords. A little bit of a weird story, but why don't you tell us the story?
Yeah, so you know, this came out in 2003. And, you know, eBay was not quite as big as it is now, but it was around. And soon, you know, I would say a couple of days after I saw this movie, went to eBay and purchased a set of samurai swords, the katana blade. Yeah. And still have them today. They're cheap pieces of shit, but they are still technically swords. But yeah, so this was a driving inspiration for me to purchase a weapon.
How much time in like around 0304 did you spend in front of a mirror, like unsheathing it, you know, like doing moves with it? Anything?
More time than I'll admit to.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, yeah,
that's fine.
As long as we know.
May or may not have happened.
That's Shawnee Mac, PM, PK, pre-marriage, pre-kids. So you know what? You know,
anything goes.
Anything goes. Anything goes. The
only sword I have is a plastic sword I used in a Jon Snow costume.
I have a light up lightsaber. So not a sword per se, a laser sword.
Okay. A weapon for a more civilized.
That's right.
Age.
That's right. Did you guys like the little comedic bit between Hanzo and his assistant?
Yeah.
You know, because it's essentially these two guys that have been working together forever in this little sushi bar. Although when it comes right down to it, obviously Hattori Hanzo is a retired weaponsmith, and this guy seems to be in on it too. But like they have this great little chemistry that's like a Sam and Diane chemistry that I could almost picture like a sitcom being based around, you know?
Absolutely. That could be a great sitcom.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the whole bit. I will say one of the things that kind of puzzled me a little bit about their whole bit was not puzzled me, but and it's kind of refreshing, is normally in a movie like this where she goes to the reluctant weaponsmith and says, make me a weapon. It would take a lot of convincing and he'd tell her to go away 10 times. As soon as he deduces that it's to go against Bill, he immediately says, okay. He hasn't made a weapon in 28 years. He obviously has some kind of problem. It kind of makes you wonder if Bill fucked him over as well, or, you know, maybe he made weapons for Bill and feels bad about it. So I like the fact, like any good script or good movie or good comic book, there's a little bit of untold backstory with Hatari Hanzo. And you only get him for like a 10-minute period in the movie. But his name is kind of like part of Tarantino verse legend now, you know. You get the great moment at the end when she fights Oranishi and delivers the death blow, and Oranishi's last words are, that was a Hatari Hanzo story. You know,
that's right.
It's so great.
This is my favorite scene in the movie.
Skull Captor.
This the sword scene.
No, the whole thing in the sushi.
Yeah,
the Hatari Hanzo.
That's good.
It's my favorite scene. Probably in the whole movie. I love the end, but that goes on a little, you know, some of the violence is a little crazy.
Oh yeah.
It's all crazy, but you know, after 10, 15 minutes, you're like, okay, all right, let's move on a little bit here. But no, that whole scene in the sushi place with Hatari Hanzo, and it's a slapstick comedy, and he's talking to her, trying to get her to teach her, you know,
Japanese,
a
couple words of Japanese.
Yeah. And she's playing dumb. Like she doesn't know it. And it's, you know, she does. And then when she says, I came here to see a man, you know, I've never met him, and says his name, and he looks up, it gets dead serious, and it's just great. It's a great scene to me.
Yeah.
Just how it switches tone so quickly.
This entire movie, you know, is Uma Thurman, you know, the bride character. She's on this streak of just like bullet focused vengeance. Right. And every time you see her, she's harsh. She's harsh, you know what I mean? Because of her mission. That scene, because she's kind of playing a character at first, because she's trying to trick him a little bit, is the only time that she comes across as cute. Like she looks cute, you know. Uma Thurman's an attractive woman, but if you pay attention to that scene, she's bubbly and airy because you notice that?
I totally agree with you. Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. She's an attractive woman, but she's like pretty and cute in this scene, which is not the way she's portrayed at any other time in the movie.
Right. She's so imposing in the rest of the movie. The scene at the end when she and this goes back to some of the Tarantino-isms, is when she opens the trunk on Sophie and she's wearing the motorcycle helmet, and it's kind of filmed from Sophie's perspective because it's the Tarantino trunk scene that we knew we were going to get. But like, she's almost like Darth Vader in that scene.
Yeah.
The helmet. She's just this imposing character, and she's telling her, you know, like, this is going to hurt you, you know? So like you get that, and you get the version that you see killing Vernita, and you get the version you see in the fight in the House of Blue Leaves, and none of them equal the kind of bubbly hair up version you get in the Hatari Hanzo scene. I agree, Sean. It might not be my favorite scene in the movie. It's absolutely up there. It's absolutely up there.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
And I guess her stunt double, Zoe Bell, I believe her name is, she really did split that baseball.
Yes. Yeah. So he throws a baseball at her when he's, I guess, testing her. She uses one of the Hatari Hanzo swords, not the one that's made for her. She cuts it right in half. And Zoe Bell apparently. And Zoe Bell on her own ended up becoming kind of a B-movie star and one of the stars of one of Tarantino's next films, Death Proof, which we'll be covering with Scary Larry Dwyer. So, so interesting stuff. We get her leaving Okinawa and heading towards Tokyo. And now we jump into the origin of her next target, which is Oranishi E, and half Chinese, half Japanese, leader of the Yakuza. And the movie goes into a anime style cartoon. It was produced by a company called Production IG, which apparently is very big for, I'm not an anime guy, but they made stuff like Ghost in the Shell. This sequence was actually directed by someone totally different. It was directed by a guy named Kazuto Nakazara. So it's so odd. Like, do you guys like the fact, would you have rather had this be a film scene, or you like it better with the fact that they did like a good, maybe 8-minute chunk of animation? Sean?
It's a tough call. I like the animation, and I think it does add a little something. It's just, again, it's Quentin being creative and going, taking a risk, putting animation in the middle of the movie like that. I think it works. I could see how some people might not like it, and it's absolutely perfect for what's going on and the story it's trying to tell too. Yeah, I agree. Lloyd, what do you feel about that scene?
Yeah, I do like it. I actually thought about this because, I sort of anticipated this question. Is this anime scene really needed? The whole movie itself is basically an homage to different styles of movies, whether it's grindhouse cinema, martial arts films, blaxploitation, spaghetti westerns. Why not throw anime in there? And it told a story that was much probably cheaper to do that way than with live action. And it also foreshadows a lot of the bloody scenes that we're going to see, the spurting blood geysers, in the Oranishi battle. So yeah, I think it fits, and I got no problem with that.
Yeah, because essentially the House of Blue Leaves sequence is just a filmed anime sequence. You know what I mean? It's like they took what should have been an anime sequence and used live action.
Yeah.
Right.
I got one thing to say about House of Blue Leaves.
Yeah.
If you abbreviate that, which I did many times in my notes, it's hobble.
Oh, is it really?
She fucking hobbles everybody in there, doesn't she?
Yeah. Well, we're getting there anyway. The House of Blue Leaves sequence took 8 weeks to film.
Yes.
That's as long as Pulp Fiction took totally. So that one sequence took as long as Pulp Fiction
Which I believe was 6 weeks longer than they planned for.
Yeah. Right. It was over. Lloyd, were you going to say something? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I was wondering if we had gotten to the point of when Daryl Hannah comes in, or is that?
Let's roll back. Go ahead. What do you got with Daryl Hannah?
So there's a couple things that stood out to me in that. First of all, so when Daryl Hannah comes into the hospital, because she's in a coma, right? And she comes in and she's whistling a tune. By the way, the tune is the theme from Twisted Nerve, a movie that a Bernard Herrmann did the music for. Now, you can go ahead and listen to a former Pint O'Comics episode where we talked about The Day the Earth Stood Still, and that music is also by Bernard Herrmann. But as she's walking in, she's wearing this white coat. And I guess I just never noticed before, but all the piping, the bell, everything, it's drawn on there.
Is it really?
Did you see that?
No.
It's literally drawn. She's wearing like a white, leathery, plasticky coat or something. And all the stitching, the bell, everything that's black on that coat is just drawn on.
What I felt was weird about that scene.
My inspiration came from, yeah.
What I felt was so weird about that scene when she decides to go and change into the nurse costume, and the Daryl Hannah character has an eye patch, and she puts on that like Red Cross medical eye patch.
Yeah.
I just thought like she's trying to, and I get it. Again, it's a movie. She's trying to blend in, but I'm pretty sure anybody that works at the hospital would go, I've never seen the 6'2" long blonde haired like nurse with the fucking eye patch with a cross on it before. I'm pretty sure people would jump at that. Every time I ever see
like
a
the
movie,
pussy wagon outside.
Yeah. I always think this. Maybe you guys can equate this with me or feel this way. Every time I see a movie where people take cover like in like clothes of as hotel workers or something, I always want to see someone in the movie go, I don't know who you are. Like you know what I mean? Like I've been working here 15 years. I've never seen you. That never fucking happens in a movie. They put on like the jacket as a waiter, grab a tray, and then they belong. It's like, I'm going to try this. I guarantee if I try this, some dude's going to go, who the fuck are you?
Or better yet, a cop when they dress up like cops and they just somehow fit in.
Just fit right in.
They work with.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of cops in each town, but I'm pretty sure you know who all the other cops are. Right. They probably even make it a point. Here, these are the other cops. Get used to them. No, you can just grab a tray, grab a gun, and you work there now. All right, so yeah, so I have a question about Daryl Hannah too, because we've kind of talked about it a little bit, and I do want to ask this question. Am I the only one here? I just never have really found her to be super attractive. And I know I probably should. Sean, you're the same?
I'm the same. Yeah. Even in Splash.
Yeah.
Probably her cutest. I don't know. I just wasn't into it.
Never really did it for me.
Well, she's got, I think she's fine, but maybe not my type. But she's got a very, like, maybe a masculine jawline. You know,
Yeah,
she's a big, looks like a strong, big woman. I don't know.
She looks like a wrestler of some kind.
No, but there's plenty of wrestlers I like.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I got a couple of those too. All right. I got a lot of kinks here.
Just a couple more things about
show.
that Daryl Hannah scene.
Yep.
You know, she's there to deliver like a lethal injection, and then she gets a call from Bill. No, we're not going to do that. That's not an honorable death. Well, why the fuck did you send her there?
Yeah.
I don't understand why she's there if she's just going to abort that because of this, dishonorable death.
And lucky for him, she took all that time to get into character and get in costume.
Right.
Yeah.
She
would have been dead already.
Yeah. If she wasn't so dedicated to trying to slip into the role.
When she wakes up from the coma, we sort of see this random mosquito land on her.
Yeah.
Right. And bite her. And then all of a sudden she wakes up violently and she's out of her coma. Now that's reminiscent of Pulp Fiction, although very little needle, very big needle in Pulp Fiction, same reaction. I thought that was pretty clever.
Yeah, I didn't put that together. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Now, on the last episode when we talked about Jackie Brown, we talked about a little bit about Tarantino's fascination with Bridget Fonda's toes, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, he takes it to another level here because there is a good, what seems to be 2-minute long sequence that involves what I can only describe. Now, again, Uma Thurman, beautiful woman, but I can only describe as Uma Thurman's finger length toes. She has got some seriously long fucking toes.
Uh-huh.
And, I get it. The idea behind the scene is that she's trying, her legs are atrophied. Only part of her body that is atrophied, by the way, but her legs are atrophied. She's trying to wiggle her toes. And it takes 16 hours to get to moving her legs, but it's just these long shots of her toes.
But very well kept for those 4 years.
So
She must have had pedicures like all the time.
Let's be honest. Buck may have been doing some horrible stuff, but he was also keeping her very clean. It might have been for his own nefarious reasons.
You don't want those toenails scratching you. Forget that.
That's why my wife won't watch the movie anymore, because she is the opposite of a foot person. Yeah. And that scene, if you're not a foot person, you cannot get through it more than once.
Yeah.
And there's so many of them actually in this movie. Yeah. One of my notes is further on, Sophie Fatale has a good foot scene. Her feet are much nicer than Uma Thurman's. No offense, Uma, but better feet.
Lucy Liu kicks off her shoes to jump on the table.
Yep.
To chop Boss Tanaka's head off as well.
Then you got the 5, 6, 7, 8s.
Yeah, they're barefoot when they're playing. Woohoo, woohoo, hoo.
I like that band. They're really good.
He apparently was scouting locations in Japan, and someone he ran into, I don't remember who it was, had a tape of theirs. And he liked
some store.
And apparently he wanted it so bad that he had to buy the personal copy from that person. And then he had to find them and get them to be in the movie, which I'm sure they had no problem with. I do want to point out, damn it, I lost something again. I lost my head again. Hold on. It was Uma Thurman's feet too. Fuck.
5, 6, 7, 8.
No, it was Uma Thurman's feet.
Thurman's feet.
It was Buck. Uma Thurman's
wiggle her toes.
Oh, okay. So something else I wanted to point out that was kind of a nice little callback to earlier in the movie. When Michael Parks, the sheriff character, goes to see her body, they think she's dead. The way he realizes she's not dead is she spits. Just randomly spits.
Yeah.
Later on, when Buck is pimping her out, he tells the guy to watch out. This one's a spitter.
That's right.
So I thought that was very interesting to wonder if maybe for the last 4 years, the only thing she does bodily wise is just spit in the air.
That's funny.
Yeah.
It's a good scene with that Michael Parks too, with all the different
sunglasses
on his dashboard, all the exact same style.
Yeah.
Maybe a slightly different shade.
He's just got a bunch of different shades of cop glasses across the bottom. Awesome. We get to Japan. I love the plane sequences because they're so cheesy looking. And the scene Sean mentioned in the trailer, which was, I do very well remember, the first shot in the trailer is her landing in Tokyo.
Yeah.
That is actually a miniature that they ended up getting from one of the Toho Godzilla films. It was a film called, it was the most current one to that point. It was called Giant Monsters All Out Attack. And that was one of the Tokyo sets. They got it from that production company and used it for that one scene.
With all the billboard advertisements up everywhere too?
Apparently the same stuff. Now, when she lands, Lloyd, what do we see an advertisement for that goes along with Tarantino-isms?
At that point, I believe maybe that one's the Red Apple.
Red Apple cigarettes, yes, which keep popping up all throughout.
We get the Go Juice. We get Red Apple cigarettes. I think that's it for product placement.
I think that's it as well. So this leads into the House of Blue Leaves, which is essentially the last 25 minutes where the bride takes on the Crazy 88, Go-Go, and also takes on Oranishi E. You can't describe much more than it's just fucking crazy action. And I
fucking bloodbath.
It's a bloodbath, and I do love it, but I do agree with Sean that it's long. It's certainly long, and I don't wish it to be any shorter, but if it was a little bit shorter, I don't think I would miss out on anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many, nameless henchmen.
Yeah.
The Crazy 88s. They probably could done with 5 minutes out of that scene.
And so when you watch it, or at least the first time, she fights a few of the minions and then she fights Go-Go and you think, all right, great. Now she's got the Oren. And then a whole legion of more people come in. I mean, did you guys think that too? Like the final battle's coming up?
Oh yeah. You figure she kills 20 people. You figure Go-Go is like the lower boss level. And I love the fight they have. I love the way Go-Go is using that fucking whatever the fuck that thing is.
That mace.
The mace thing on a chain.
Mace on a chain, swinging it around, kicking it at her,
doing it around her neck and
doing it around her neck. I mean, if that was her actually doing those stunts, it was great.
How do you even train that? How do you train to control that weapon?
I'm telling you, I don't know, but I'm telling you that if I was like in a fight and someone pulled that weapon out and started doing that kind of shit with it, I would run as fast as I could, especially if she hit that button and it suddenly became like a saw blade. Like, fuck that thing. Right? Totally fuck that thing.
It's like Phantasm on steroids.
The sphere from Phantasm.
Yeah.
Hey, did you notice too? Like, there's a point where I think after that big fight, the bride is walking across that Zen garden, under the glass.
Yes.
And there's a shot looking up through the glass at her. Did you see what was on the bottom of the soles of her shoes?
I read this afterwards. I didn't notice it.
I noticed it. I'm like, I paused it. Like I saw something there. I paused it. It says, fuck you, the letter U on the bottom of each of her shoes.
Yeah. I read that and I did not notice that. I'll have to catch it on the next viewing, but I laughed at that. What do you guys think of the essentially three different styles we get in the Crazy 88 fight? We get normal in color bloodbath. Then we go black and white for a little while. And then we go to that blue silhouette. Do you guys like that? Sean, how do you feel about that?
Stylistically, the blue silhouette was cool, but I don't understand why it was the woman who runs the place, like turns the lights off and then turns them back on like a couple minutes later. Anyway, like the whole thing was kind of weird to me. Why she did that? What the purpose was? Other than it looked fucking cool. I'll give her that.
It was very stylish. Yeah. Because I think it went color black and white, and as soon as color came back, then the lights went out.
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing I wanted to ask you guys about, and it's one of my favorite things of this film is, and we talk about the soundtracks and everyone, and apparently everything in this film is from another film soundtrack. Do you guys because I love it. Do you like the fact that every time she encounters one of her victims and or targets that you get that incredible, like first 15 seconds of the Ironsides theme song? You guys like that as well?
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect. You knew what was going on as soon as you heard that. You also got like maybe the close up of her eyes.
The close up of her eyes would turn like red or whatever. I think that's fucking great.
I love the I guess I would call it the Reservoir Dogs walk when the Crazy 88s came in, or Crazy or whatever they are, and they played that. What the heck's the name of that song? Bum bum bum. When they all come in. Great soundtrack, great song, and that just reminded me of Reservoir Dogs. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. So we end up with the Oranishi fight. Again, I've never timed this, but apparently when Oranishi makes a comment about 5 minutes, she makes some kind of comment about 5 minutes. From the second that she steps forward and they fight, it's 5 minutes till Oranishi gets her scalp cut off. Do you guys like the fact that essentially, the fight doesn't go on too long, and it's kind of over? It not just doesn't go on too long, but it's brutal, and it kind of ends like almost anticlimactically. Like, you're waiting on this big moment where the bride cuts her arms off, cuts her in half, throws her into a fire pit. And it's essentially, she gets a couple good licks on the bride, cuts her across the back pretty badly. They end up on opposite sides of this fence. They run towards each other, and you don't even really see what happens. It's just like motion. And then we see Oranishi's scalp fly off, and then we get the line, that was a Hatari Hanzo. You see her brain. That was a big trope for a while in movies where the one person would get killed, but not realize it. Equilibrium, if you've ever seen that, did it. They've done it several times. Do you guys like the fact that this wasn't as drawn out of a fight as you might have expected it to be? Because we already got 20 minutes of action.
I remember the first time I watched it, I think that was sort of anticlimactic to me. I was like, that's it, Oranishi, and, we get a little bit of action out in the snow there, the very fake looking snow. And I was a little, I know the first time I was a little upset about it. And that's what made me not really want to go back to the movie so much. But I think rewatching it this time, I don't mind that. Yeah, we had so much action prior to that. I feel like that's okay. And before that fight, you actually see the bride before they're kind of like facing off against each other. She's shaky. You can literally see her shaking. The only time in the movie where she's not like 100% confident.
Yeah, right. Because Sean, she knows that Oren is at least her equal, if not better.
Absolutely. I mean, you don't rise to the level in the underworld that she has without being a badass. So to me, that last scene, I'm okay with it being as short as it was. The only problem I might have would be Oren Ishii was such a killer, had such a great backstory, and was self-made and attained this level to be the boss of the Yakuza, an American Japanese or a Japanese Chinese American, like defied all the odds. And that's how she goes out 5 minutes. First of all, hiding behind the crazy 88s.
Yeah.
And then they get killed. And then she goes out 5 minutes later. I don't necessarily have a problem with it. The bride should win, but maybe she should have lasted a little bit longer.
That's a great point. Yeah. Yeah, being the leader of the Yakuza, you would expect more.
Kind of like you said about the bride being shaky going up against her. Maybe Oranishi is like, fuck, I know she could beat me too. You know what I mean? And I'm going to let's weaken her up a little bit. I don't think anybody's looking for a challenge here. They're looking for, let's let them beat each other out. And then maybe I'll be able to beat her at that point easily. Doesn't work out for her. Now, we have mentioned a couple times, we didn't really get too far into it, that when Bill does shoot her in the beginning, she says the baby is yours. You're assuming this whole movie that the baby has died. When she wakes up from her, it's sad actually. When she wakes up from her coma, she reaches for her stomach. And even though it's been 4 years, to her, it's been an hour. She realizes the baby isn't there and she freaks the fuck out. So this movie ends essentially with Bill talking to the now armless Sophie Fatale, and probably more than armless, because they kind of make a point of saying like what she's done to you. But she also says, Bill says, did you say anything to her about her daughter, her child still being alive? Movie ends right there. So she's on this path of vengeance, not even knowing that apparently Bill has her kid. All right. That will get into Kill Bill Volume 2 with our special guest from the Nomcast, Andrew Morgan, ForgottenEntertainment.com family, part of that. So let's get into some Tarantino-isms here, Lloyd. Some of the stuff that maybe you noticed, maybe Sean noticed, that might link into some of the other films.
So here's what I got. We've got the fourth trunk scene, basically the bride looking down, like you said, in her Darth Vader helmet down at Sophie Fatale in the trunk. The third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh bare feet scene. We've already talked so much about that. The third corpse point of view scene, which is in the wedding.
Yep.
You're looking down at the corpse. The third tracking shot. So there's a shot when they're in the House of Blue Leaves where you're following the bride walking to the bathroom, and then you get that interesting Charlie Brown character. And the owner walking up to a private room, and then we see Sophie Fatale coming down the stairs. That was all one shot that took several takes to get it, but it's all one continuous shot, and it's pretty unique to see that stuff. And you get the second, what they call God's eye point of view, where you got a scene looking down from above. There's a couple of those. There's the second map scene. So the plane flying over the map, like you talked about before.
Yep.
Another dancing scene. The 5, 6, 7, 8s are doing a lot of dancing. The black and white suit that you mentioned, Bud is wearing in the Crazy 88s. And then more bathroom scenes. There's a lot of bathroom scenes for Tarantino. The second time, Uma Thurman did "Don't Be a Square" and outlined it. And then I guess the only other thing I would say is another samurai sword. We had one in Pulp Fiction.
Yes, we did. Sean, anything you got besides that?
No, my big one was the don't be a square, and then that would make us square the way she outlined.
That would make us square.
That would make us square. No, I mean outside of that, I think Lloyd kind of nailed it. I mean, if I were to watch it again right now, I'd probably find something new that I missed.
Yeah,
a couple things. But it's Tarantino. I mean, he's going to call back to his own stuff all the time.
Yeah,
which is fine. I have no problem with that.
Something that's not from the Tarantino universe, that's a nice callback or tribute is, as Lloyd is wearing tonight, the bride's tracksuit, the motorcycle suit is from Game of Death, essentially, with Bruce Lee. The final Bruce Lee film, where if you've ever seen, he fights Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and it's a similar plot line too. He's going through multiple, like a gauntlet per se, to get to a big boss. And that's kind of what she's doing here. Now, this was never said by Tarantino. This was said by David Carradine multiple times in interviews after the film came out. But if you think about it, it makes sense. So if you go to the Oranishi animated sequence, right, and the Yakuza boss is in charge and has her family killed, the guy that does the killing and sets her apartment on fire appears to be in the anime a white person. David Carradine claims that was Bill. That Bill was like the assassin for that. And now, does it make sense that she would go work for him? Who knows with these fucked up people? But I think that's, if that is true, I think that's an interesting little bit, because they kind of do make it look like he's got brown hair. He might look a little more Western than the other characters. And that's just something that Carradine says, not Tarantino.
That's the guy who actually killed her father too.
Killed her father and sets the apartment on fire. So I don't know why. I mean, and I could see to a point if it was just the boss that killed her father, killed her mother. She, as she goes up, gets in with this guy, the guy with the long hair. Then he helps her get to him. The boss isn't the one that killed her father, so I don't see why she'd want to kill that guy, not associate with him. I agree. I just wanted to throw it out there because it was something Carradine said. It wasn't like a fan theory. Now, again, him saying it doesn't
pipe dream.
Right. Well, exactly.
He Kung Fu. He didn't know what he was doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Look, he
self-auto.
Yeah. Let's be honest. This is a guy that jerked off to death. So maybe he didn't.
Hey,
know.
We should be so lucky.
Yeah. Hey, you know what, Manster? Do we have some box office for this one?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
When I said box, I made a square, by the way. No lines came up though.
A square
I did
office.
See that.
Yeah.
Oh, before we go into box office, let's just mention this is the first of 3 films in a row. No Academy Award nominations.
No Academy Award nominations. And we only talked about this in the first episode. And I do want to just point this out because I find this interesting. We kind of talked in the Reservoir Dogs episode about like his well-known use of the N-word and his overuse of it. Kill Bill 1 and Kill Bill 2 are the only 2 movies in his entire lexicon, whatever you want to call it, no use of that word at all. So I just wanted to mention that because I think it's an interesting trivia fact.
So not even cinematography, huh?
Nope, nothing.
Wow.
Nothing.
Nada. All right. So the weekend of October 10th, 2003, Kill Bill did come in number 1 that week at 22 million. At number 5 was Out of Time.
Oh, Denzel Washington.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't think I've ever seen that. Number 4, Intolerable Cruelty. Number 3, Good Boy. Number 2, School of Rock.
There we go.
In the second week of School of Rock. And number 1, like I said, Kill Bill. For the year, Kill Bill came in at number 40. School of Rock for the year beat it at number 36. I'm going to give you the top 10 that year because it's a pretty good top 10. Cheaper by the Dozen, number 10. Number 9, The Matrix Revolutions. Number 8, Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines.
Underrated.
Number 7, Elf. Awesome James Caan movie. Number 6, X2, X-Men United.
Like how you say it's a James Caan movie.
Yeah, James Caan movie.
That was a James Caan vehicle. You remember?
I was waiting for somebody to say something.
Elf, a really good Mary Steenburgen film.
Number 5, Bruce Almighty.
Can I tell you that Mary Steenburgen also fills a niche? I have like something going on with me. All right, go ahead, keep going. Yeah.
No, you've talked about her before.
Yeah.
Number 4, The Matrix Reloaded.
That's right.
Number 3, my absolute least favorite franchise, as John knows, Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl.
Was that the second one?
First.
That was the first one. Okay. The only one I saw.
Number 2, Finding Nemo.
Overrated. Never got I like Pixar movies.
That, huh?
Overrated. So overrated.
Okay. And number 1, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King.
Never saw it.
No, you never saw the Lord of the Rings films?
No, I'm kidding.
All right.
No, I never saw the 8-hour
movie.
8-hour extended cuts.
I'll tell you a couple that Kill Bill did beat that year.
All right.
Came in just ahead of the, oh God, is it a Disney movie? Holes?
Yes.
Yeah. Shia LaBeouf.
That's a good movie. That's actually
a good movie. I enjoy that movie. It came ahead of The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
The movie that made Sean Connery retire.
And it came in ahead of Bad Santa.
Oh, yeah. Bad Santa is one of those ones that it was amusing when I saw it once and never really went back to it.
Yeah, it doesn't hold up.
Yeah, I don't think it's
like Elf, apparently.
Yeah,
which still has legs.
Up. Sorry, Elf holds up.
Elf does have legs. All right. So let's get into our ratings for Kill Bill here on the QT. We have a 0 through 5 scale. The quarter and half scale are usable. We'll go to our guest, Shawnee Mack, first tonight. Whoa, look at that. I'm changing it up a little bit. Sean, scale of 0 to 5. What would you give 2003's Kill Bill Volume 1?
0 to 5 samurai swords? Or
yeah, we'll go with samurai
okay.
swords.
Okay, so I liked it when it came out. When it's on, I have to stop and watch it. And I was glad I rewatched it this week. So it's something that every time, even though I know what's going to happen, I still love watching it unfold. The ending, and then the scene in the sushi place in Okinawa more so than the rest of the movie. But I could sit through this movie, any day of the week, twice on Sunday. It's a good movie. I will say that, and I know I'm just going to continue talking about this.
That's what you're here for, man.
Yeah. Hey, that's why I got a microphone. So I watched it this week, and when it ended, I said, and not just to myself out loud, that's such a fucking badass movie.
Yeah.
And we're not even to part 2 yet, Mm-hmm. I put it up there with my one of my all-time favorite badass movies, Robert Rodriguez, interestingly enough, The Connection, Desperado. Absolutely just violence for 90 minutes, fights and stabbings and just shootings. And I love it. To get amped up, I'll watch Desperado. I'll watch this movie. I put it on that level, and I give it 4 1/4.
4 1/4.
Sword.
All right. I'll go second. First 2 gave him 5s, right? Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, and pretty good score for Jackie Brown as well. I can't remember my number right off the top of my head.
4.
4. Okay. Because I really do enjoy that movie. We talked about it. It's underrated, like Terminator 3. Boy, everything Sean said, I agree with. When I did have cable, this would always be on, and I'd watch it always. I always seem to come in at the House of Blue Leaves. Maybe that's partially because that's 90% of the movie.
It's most of the movie.
It's most of the movie, but it always seemed to be there. And I also can tell you, we mentioned it earlier, I don't watch 2 as much as 1, but 1 seemed to be on TV a lot more. I think it's a little shorter. Maybe that's part of the reason. I don't know, but I do. I love how different this is. I love combination and mashup of different genres. I just love everything. I think Uma Thurman's great in this thing. I'm going to go 4 1/2. This is a 4 1/2. It's not perfect. There are some things that I could see. Again, like I said, as much as I love it, you could probably trim House of Blue Leaves down a little bit. Maybe have another couple of scenes. Maybe a little bit more Hatari Hanzo. Again, I want a sitcom with these two guys. So maybe 10 more minutes of the movie of their relationship and her spending a month there, which they say, and they kill maybe 13 less crazy 88s.
Yeah,
I might be okay with that. Lloyd, what do you give it?
Boy, you guys pretty much said all the points that I wanted to say. It's a great stylish revenge thriller. He leaves his excessively bloody mark on it. It's a nice homage to several other genres. I'm going to go with Shawnee Mac. I go with the 4.25.
4.25. All right. So this thing is above 4 across the boards.
Yep.
All right. So that's impressive. Sean, thank you so much for coming back. We'll have you on Pint O'Comics again very soon. Why don't you tell everybody out there where they could find your writing?
Sure. Occasionally you can find it on Horror News Network. That's horrornewsnetwork.net. All things horror, news, reviews, everything. Go there. It's your one-stop shop. And check out Connecticut Cult Classics while you're there. That's right. Connecticut Cult Classics, our buddy Scary Larry. Great time. All right. So before we go, real quick, we are part of the Forgotten Entertainment.com family. Forgotten Entertainment has some great shows. So I want to just point some of these out for you if you want to add some podcasts to your podcast player. Forgotten Cinema. Mike and Mike talk about movies that have been forgotten by the general audience. Next week's guest on the Kill Bill Volume 2 episode is Andrew Morgan. Andrew has the Nomcast, which is a fantastic show where he talks about Netflix original movies, aka Nom. You get what he did there. Also, cracking one open, Mike Butler, one of the Mikes from Forgotten Cinema, and his fiancee Elise. They talk about craft brews and pop culture. And I'll give one more. Because I've been listening to this one lately. Yet another Star Wars podcast. Colleen Anders, I can't remember the last gentleman's name. I apologize, but they are going through the 11 films in the Star Wars canon. As of recording, they just put out their Return of the Jedi episode. So check all those shows out and come back next week for Kill Bill Volume 2. So for On the QT, I'm John.
I'm Lloyd.
And we will see you in the movies.
Very good.